Greetings and hello Guild Wars 2 fans, and welcome to episode 59 of GuildGab. Today we are going to be discussing raids, which are coming next week on November 17th. The rewards associated with those raids, as well as throwing in a little bit of lore talk and some other stuff, some questions from you guys. But first, let me introduce everyone. I'm your host, AuroraPeachy, and today we have with us MMO Inks, Alex of the RPG Shack, and you're not Corvus. Who's this guy?
I could be.
You need a hat and a lot more hair.
Yeah. I do need more hair, yes.
And a beard.
And an accent. I need an accent.
That's true. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. BogOtter, Richie Procopio, joining us today for GuildGab. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
I highly doubt that anybody watching does not know Richie, but just in case, who is your daddy and what do you do? What? Didn't make any sense.
my dad, his name is Rich, and he's a dentist.
Hang on. Your dad actually named you after himself.
Yes, and my son is also Richie, so we're three of us now. Three generations. Yes, he's the third.
The third.
Yeah,
that's way better than Junior or...
Yeah, I'm Junior, my son's the third, so hopefully my grandson is a fourth. So, that'd be cool. We could be like kings or something.
What if it's a granddaughter, Richina the fourth?
That could be that.
Anyway.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, raids are coming next Tuesday, the 17th. The first wing of the first raid. Each raid's going to have 3 wings. So this is just the very first wing. It's going to be... I'm totally blanking on the name of Tongue Boss guy.
Tongue Boss guy.
Didn't...
Gersival or Grisival.
Garcival?
Something with a G.
Yeah.
I totally forget.
Gargamel.
Yes.
Gargamel. Yes.
Gar.
I think his name is Gersival or something like that.
It is something like that, yeah.
Gorsival, yeah.
Gorsival. That was close.
Yes,
yeah.
Okay. Tongue Boss guy. It's always going to be Tongue Boss guy.
Tongue Boss guy.
So we got a blog post all about kind of the reward structure for raids. How we know that legendary armor is going to be an eventual acquisition. It's only going to be available with through the raids. So you're going to have to do raids to get legendary armor. Inks, why don't you tell us, give us kind of an overview of that blog post and the reward structure for raids.
Sure. So every time you defeat a boss in a raid, once per week, you're going to get the boss's chest. Okay, so inside the boss's chest is some gold, some experience, which is automatically consumed when you open the chest for your mastery tracks, and there will be a new mastery track for raids as well. You're also going to get some rares, some exotics, kind of the normal stuff that you would normally see, and there is also a chance, and it's higher in raids than it is in other content, but there is a better chance for ascended armor chests, weapon chests, as well as loot specific for the bosses. So mini pets, special weapons, backskins, things of those nature. Things of that nature, excuse me.
Okay. So what did they go into any detail about legendary armor and how that's acquired? Because you're not just going to run into the raid, beat it, and you have legendary armor, right?
Yeah, so there's a collection, just like there is for precursors for the weapon sets, either in Corteria or the new legendary weapons, which I believe are also coming on Tuesday. And you're going to need to complete all 3 raids and do particular events and things in the raids, as well as in the jungle, the open world, in order to complete the precursor collection. Once you do that, they'll give you a set of 6 precursors, which then you need to turn into actual legendary armor. The problem becomes, or the issue that some players are having, is you won't be able to actually complete this precursor journey until the last raid wing, which won't be until sometime next year.
Yeah. I think it's a little weird, honestly. I was expecting it to be kind of like the Carapace armor, whereas like the first raid we might be able to get the precursors for like the helm and the chest or something like that. And then like the second raid, you'd get 2 more pieces, and the third raid, you'd get 2 more pieces, so that we can at least start working and potentially complete 2 of the pieces in the next few months. But it sounds like we're not going to be able to complete any of them until all 3 raid wings are out sometime next year. And at that point, like, we have to spend like tons of resources at once rather than it's spread out over time. I don't know. I thought that was a little surprising.
Do you think the way that they'll do it is, excuse me, somehow they'll amalgamate the precursors into like an armor set? You know, like when you buy an armor set from the gem store, and you get it all in one item, and that way you have to have all 6 to create that item, and then you put it in with the 3 other gifts. So that way it kind of sticks to the same model that the current legendaries have, where you have the precursor, then the 3 other bits and pieces.
Could be.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
And I think as well, doing it that way, it's a pretty nice time gate to do, rather than just an arbitrary, oh, you can't get this bit yet. Because I think if they just went, oh, you can... I've completely lost my train of thought. Sorry, I think if they went, oh, you can kind of get 2 bits here, and then you can get 2 bits the next time, then 2 bits the next time. Because each armor, because there's a legendary set for light, medium, and heavy. Just having, if you can guarantee getting all of those precursors in just by completing one raid, it's an incentive for people to end up farming raids, which I think could end up being a little bit detrimental to what they're actually supposed to be. If people are just looking for X number of people to farm precursor items or something like that. So instead of actually going to accomplish the raids as the full event, like Inks was saying, because there are individual events inside that you might have to complete just to unlock particular aspects of the collection, it might open up the possibility of people just jumping into raids to do a couple of the little events to get the collections they need.
So sort of 2 schools of thought on like that kind of subjects. First of all, I do think you're right. I think it's going to be an armor chest, like a chest of precursors that you're going to get, and that entire chest will plug in, and that way there's only 1 recipe. Otherwise, then they'd have to create 6 recipes, which is a lot more work for them. So that's probably one reason they did it. On the other hand, I think it feels a lot more rewarding, and I feel like progression-wise for a player, it feels a lot better if I get a shoulder piece and a glove or something in the first wing, so that I'm getting rewards as I go along. And even if a raid takes 6 months to come out, it's okay. I can feel a little patient because I'm working on 2 pieces of armor that I'll finish while I'm waiting for that next wing.
That's true.
The way they're doing it, I'm going to wait maybe a year for the entire thing, or at least probably half a year, I would say is a decent estimate, until we get the full raid. And then I'll be working on little things as I go along the way, but it doesn't feel quite as rewarding, I don't think, if in 6 months I get a chest of precursors rather than little pieces as we go.
Yeah, it's a motivation thing for me personally too. You know, if I know I can't get it all done until like next June anyway, and I'm just making up a date there, but I don't know. I'm gonna, I'm sure I'll pick up the collection pieces as I go that I can get. But if there's some difficult achievement you have to do, or some other things you have to do in the Maguma Jungle, I'll be like, I'll get around to that when I can actually make it. Yeah. So it makes it feel like, I don't know. For me personally, I'm not going to be as motivated to go after that stuff until it's all in the game.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. I do understand that though, because again, like Inks was saying, you want that kind of incentive to keep going. Oh, I've got 2 bits of it right. I must keep tabs on, when the second wing comes out, when the third wing comes out, rather than you end up looking at it and just go, oh god, I've got to do all of these just to get this one item at the end. And I think that will put people off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there'll probably be different steps as well. So like the legendary journey right now is there's step 1, you go and you wave to some statues or you hug them or whatever, and then step 2 is a little more detailed, and then step 3 you finally make like your actual precursor. So it'll probably be a little like that. So you'll be making rewards as you go along, or you'll be getting some rewards I think as you'll go along, but I'm not sure that it feels quite like Richie was saying. There's no rush really, right? There's no there's not this incentive of I should really work on this right now, rather than I can probably wait like 4 months and it's not a big deal and whatever.
Yeah.
Are all the pieces you get? Is it all or nothing? Do we know?
It sounds like that.
It sounds like it's all or nothing. Like you can't if you want just the legendary helm, you get just the helm. Or now I imagine it'll be like once you get the whole thing, whether you have the choice of getting the whole thing at once or not, you can choose just to wear the helm. It's not like an outfit, you can it's armor, so you can mix and match it.
Sure.
But like, do you have the option of just crafting that helm, or you have to craft the entire set?
I think you get the whole set.
Because the whole set is they said equivalent to get to the difficulty and the cost of getting one precursor weapon.
Yeah,
it's not like to get the whole set you would have to get, or I'm sorry, not precursors, legendary. So it's not like 6 legendaries to get the whole set. It's one the cost
it's
and
one legendary,
the time of one legendary is the whole thing.
Yeah. I thought when they originally said that like one piece like a helm would be maybe like getting a Marjorie backpack or something like that. It would be like less than getting a legendary, but you would have to do that 6 times. But I'm kind of agreeing now that we hear more from this blog post and what Ink said earlier, that you may just have one huge legendary process, just like a weapon, but then they give you the entire armor set. I don't know which I prefer in that. I mean, I think I enjoyed it being a little bit more piecemeal with some of it coming early. But I think on the positive side, what I do like is that in the blog post, and they mentioned this before, that when you're killing these bosses, you have chances to get these mini pets, new weapon skins, new ways to say, hey, look, I'm a raider. I actually accomplished this. You could show off this fun stuff, because that's part of the fun of raiding. It's going to be more difficult than anything we've seen, hopefully, in the on the PvE side before. But you should be able to walk around and go, look, I got this tongue boss mini pet, and show that off as well. So I'm excited about those kind of things, for sure.
Yeah, there's also, they talk about 2 other little rewards as well. So one of them is these unique things like the mini pets of the minions, mini pets of the bosses. But also they talk about, and this is something that I've been wanting for a while, but there's going to be a special infusion that makes you all ghost-like, all ghosty.
Yeah.
And we've seen these before in game. There's like the bee one where the bees all fly around you, and there's one that turns you blue or green, black, or orange for the Halloween things. But those can only be used in exotic accessories, jewelry, and stuff.
Yeah.
So they're finally bringing this over to like the Ascended infusion side, because many of us who have been playing for a while probably have those things by now. So that's,
the thing
really
is, as Ascended amulets and that kind of thing aren't terrifically hard to get. You play the game for a month and you get 55 or 56 laurels. That's one of your ascended accessories there straight away. What I would like to see, talking about all of these nice, really cool rewards like the mini pets, the armor skins, the ascended skins. I don't want them to rely on RNG anymore. I think if someone puts the time in to do the raid, especially considering that this is supposed to be the challenging group content for Heart of Thorns, and they're going to be using this model onwards, if you put the time and the effort in to complete or at least earn these magnetite shards that they talk about from the weekly boss chest, you should be able to put those towards a reward that you want instead of. The thing is like we've all gone through fractals, we've all gone through world boss events where we get our greens and our blues from the chests, and it's kind of infuriating when you're in like level 50 fractal or whatever and you get nothing, and the bloke who always gets like the ascended armor or the really cool fractal weapon skin before things changed, and that kind of situation is a little bit annoying. And I'm hoping that all those really nice, cool things, like Richard was saying, like Inks was saying, you want these things to be able to show off. Hey, I'm a raider. I've done particular things. I've done this, that, and the other. Someone could go into a raid and in the first 5 minutes get the super exclusive mini pet drop. And
ArenaNet really loves their RNG.
Yeah.
Well, you need a balance, though. You really do, because think about the old dungeons, right, which is almost completely a currency system, right? The motivation to keep running those unless you were one of the people that enjoyed like just gold farming, right? There's no motivation to go in there once you get your kind of your skin. So I actually like the system that they're coming out with the raids, where there is that fallback currency system, but they specifically said it's going to be expensive. It's going to be like, it's not the primary method of getting these things, but it's a fallback if you've got, Ink's luck. I don't know. Does Inks have bad luck in the game? I don't know.
Yeah.
Only with trick-and-treat bags.
Trick-or-treat bags. Yeah, go there. So there is this new currency called magnetite shards, and you get these shards. There is a cap weekly on how many shards you can get, but if you beat a boss, you get X amount or a greater amount for beating a boss. And if you fail at a boss, depending on how much damage you've done to that boss, how close you got to defeating the boss, you still get a certain amount, but a very diminished amount for failing. There is a cap per weekly, and you can use these magnetite shards to buy specific rewards in the raids that do drop RNG, but this is also a currency to allow you to earn something even if your luck is absolutely terrible. Yeah. So this is definitely, I think, the way to go with this kind of content. It gives you two ways. Yes, it might take you 10,000 shards to get a piece you want, but at least you're going to get it at some time. I've been killing Tequatl for 2 years, and I still haven't seen a freaking horde. You know what I mean? Really? So at least by now, I would have earned enough shards to at least buy one weapon, I would guess.
Right.
So I would have gotten something by now because I've been doing that content for so long. So I definitely think that this is a step in the proper direction.
Yeah.
When it comes to
I mean, just what you're saying about Tequatl's Sword, before I moved house, when I came home at lunchtime, I could drop in on a Tequatl. And I just, in my lunch hour, drop in on a Tequatl, and the horde drops when I'd not been really bothered about doing it. And I completely agree with you. It's crackers. It's crackers.
Yeah.
You need a certain amount of RNG in there. And the reason why there's heavy RNG in the world bosses is because you can do it solo. I mean, obviously there's a lot of other people there. You can just log in. You don't need an organized group, and you can kind of get your reward once a day in there. And if it was like a 40% drop rate or a 30% drop rate, you would get that within a couple of days, and you would never feel you'd have all the rewards for that boss, and maybe never feel like you need to do it again. So any of those world boss situations or random drops on any like champions or those loot bags and stuff like that has to be such a minuscule amount. Otherwise, everyone walks around with everything. When you put it in more of a raid type of environment, those RNG percentages can be boosted up a bit. Like, for example, I believe in my interview that I had in one of my Teary Talk videos with ArenaNet in terms of raid design, I believe they said like the Ascended boxes and stuff will have around a 10% chance to drop, which is a pretty decent chance to get an Ascended loot box, especially compared to how you can get them elsewhere. So I think as long as they structure like the mini pets and the random skins and different things, in sort of like that you've got a 10 or 15% chance, something around there, you'll see rewards fairly regularly to make it interesting. But if you happen to get totally unlucky and you really want like the fuzzy Tequatl slippers to drop or something, you can get them from the magnetite currency, if you're really unlucky. So.
Are any of those RNG rewards involving the precursors or the legendary armor? Is that dependent on RNG? Or
if they do, I'm going to be beyond furious.
I would guess not.
Yeah. The thing is, like, ArenaNet have addressed the precursor situation with the first generation of weapons by adding the collections into the game with Heart of Thorns. If they completely go back and just go, yep, RNG for the armor, it's a complete turnaround from what they wanted to do with it, and it will annoy a lot of people.
Yeah, but you have that vendor now, so if it's not guaranteed, if it's not a guaranteed drop in that boss chest, you'll at least be able to buy it from the vendor.
That's true, but I think it goes without saying that if there was a situation like that you would need a bananas amount of these magnetite shards to buy your precursor set of armor. And how annoyed again it's
that's like precursors. That's like you could get crazy lucky and just get a precursor drop in the world, and that's a fourth of your legendary weapon. You could just get crazy lucky.
But is it going to work like they said that you will unlock the precursor collection when you defeat your first raid boss, so you'll get that as an unlock, and then you're just going to be collecting the pieces to craft the precursor. I didn't think like the precursor is just going to be dropping.
Oh.
Yeah.
No. So
I would have
the legendary armor. The legendary armor is going to work, or the precursor to legendary armor is going to work just like the new legendary weapons. Now, the new legendary weapons, those precursors, do not drop anywhere else in the game. You have to do the precursor journey to get the precursors to make those new legendary weapons. It's only in Central Tyria, and I guess the Tier 1 or the original legendaries where those could still drop out of the Forge or the world or wherever. So they changed that system for the new legendaries. This includes armor, back piece, and the new weapons.
All the rest of it.
So I guess it's then just the question of whether the items in the collection come from RNG.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I assume yes, but like I said, if they are, if they have like a 15% drop chance or something like that, well, if you're beating the bosses every week, it shouldn't be too horrible to pick some of those up.
So if we kind of dissect and look at the fractal legendary back piece, I imagine the armor will work something like that. So in step 1, there's at least 2 pieces you buy with regular fractal relics and pristine fractal relics. So you could be looking at 2 pieces you buy with that magnetite shards. That would kind of make sense. As well as there's a daily. You need to do the dailies and gather 28 pages and make a book and take the book to a certain guy. So maybe they haven't talked about raid dailies or anything like that, but there's probably something that drops that you need to collect a bunch of so that they make the process long and make it into another item or something for the collection.
Good question in chat. How exactly does it work with the new legendaries if you want to do it more than once, since to get heavy, medium, and light?
Don't think you can. And the
Really?
thing is I don't. There's not really any point anyway, because legendaries are account bound, and if you desperately want them on another character, drop them in your bank and go and pick them up with the other character. And because you can change all of the stats on legendary items,
that would mean you could change it from light, medium, or heavy?
We don't know.
I think that you have to craft light, medium, and heavy. But once you have all 3 sets, each set is account bound, and then you can just switch them out between characters as and when you please.
Each set, right?
The different collections.
So is there gonna be a collection for heavy, and then a collection for light, a collection for medium?
That's what I understood.
Okay.
We don't know.
We don't know.
We do know that the legendary weapons you can only obtain one time. Now, ArenaNet did say, and this isn't in the game, this will not be in the game on Tuesday, will not, but eventually they're going to work on something to give you a clone of your new legendary weapon so that you can have 2 actual legendary weapons. What that involves or when we're going to get that, we don't know. We do know that the new legendary weapons you can only do one time. So if you want Twice Told Legend, you can only get that achievement with the Tier 1 or the classic Tyria legendaries. How is armor going to work? By getting the different sets, the different weight sets? I mean, they haven't said. We don't know.
Inks, will that be in the game on Tuesday?
That will... that will not.
I want to be sure.
Just so to be absolutely clear on this, that if I log in on Tuesday, I won't be able to do. So here's something that I kind of wanted to ask you guys. We've kind of chatted about the unique rewards to raids, but when it comes to non-raid rewards that you get in the raid, specifically experience and perhaps more importantly gold. So for killing a boss each week, you get 2 gold and a bunch of experience to work towards a mastery.
Yeah.
2 gold. Well, sort of.
Yeah.
Okay, so and that, for the active raid wing, you actually get double the rewards. So you get 4 gold per boss, and you get twice the experience drops, however much experience that ends up being per boss. When Wing 2 comes out, then in Wing 2 you'll get double the rewards, and in Wing 1 it'll go back to just basic rewards. Yeah. They're giving you a buff.
Which I think is strange that they're implementing the buff to start. Like, that should, I don't know, to me it would be, like, that's your incentive in January, February when the second wing comes out to start rating the new wing. I think it's interesting that they're putting the buff in even when there's only one choice, but that's a different question than Alex is asking.
Yeah. My point is, running Citadel of Flame Path 1, pre-Heart of Thorns, netted you a gold and 60 tokens for 10 minutes work.
Yeah.
Doing your daily dungeon rotation, doing your daily dungeon paths, ACCM, and so on, that would net you around 20 to 30 gold if you did all of the easy, for lack of a better word, paths. Now, my problem is for challenging end game content, right? We're getting 4 gold if we complete the new raid per week.
No.
Per boss.
Per boss.
Per boss,
Yes.
right. So
Sorry.
you're getting 12 gold. We're not sure. There's an event in the raid, too. We're not sure if that event gives the gold as well. They're not exactly clear on that. But we know we're getting at least 12 gold. I know that's not a lot. That's the complaint that's coming out is there's at least 12 gold per week. That's capped. It's not like you can keep killing the bosses for more and more gold. That's not how it works. And so they talked about when they nerfed the dungeon money, they talked about redistributing it. It wasn't going to go away. It was going to go into fractals, and it was going to go into raiding. Well, 12 gold a week, and we know that fractals are totally screwed up reward-wise right now.
Yeah.
Really screwed up. So that gold hasn't been redistributed, basically. Because players could make, if you sell everything and you do all that, the dungeon rewards, you could get about 50 gold a day. If you were hardcore enough, if you were, I guess, disciplined enough to run those daily. I certainly am not, but I know many people are. I know that many dungeon runners were. So yeah, you used to be able to make about 50 gold a day. You can now make 12 gold a week. Plus the minor gold from fractals. Very, very minor.
Yeah, it's very, very... But the thing is, my main problem with this is it kind of revolves around new players and the state of people and the number of people who do have the expansion. So if someone's been playing the game for 3 years, like, I think most of us have been, I currently have 11 gold in my character. And, I play with guys, they have 3,000 gold, they have 5,000 gold, whatever they've made, all of their, the full set of legendaries their characters can use. And, they've made their gold in Central Tyria in the original game. Now, my problem kind of comes for players who bought the core game but haven't bought the expansion yet, or for people whose skill cap is at dungeon level, and for people who don't have time or whatever to do the raids, the gold reward is blocked off to them. It was nice if you're a casual player being able to do a few dungeon runs a week for your gold, so you could slowly build towards something. But having that gold taken away from the core experience, even though I understand that the state of the end game has changed. Now that the end game, like ArenaNet have said, is fractals and dungeon and fractals and raids, I can get behind that. I don't have a problem with that. But my problem comes from removing the reward from less challenging content that some people do see as end game, if that makes sense.
The state of the game hasn't just changed. The state of the economy has changed. You playing with those people with 2,000, 3,000 gold, they want to stop that. They want to stop the gold hoarding. They want to stop printing money into the economy. And so I think players have to stop comparing the raids to what we got in dungeons. ArenaNet completely reworks their systems all the time. Look where the trait system used to be. We used to have 60 trait points. Now we don't even have points anymore. The entire system has changed. So I think players, even though they can't change the basic currency of gold, silver, and copper, they can change the amount of it that's being put into the economy, because they have all the stats behind the scenes. They know this percentage of the players have this much gold, and I think players, just complain and whine and say, oh, we're getting screwed, but you got to look at the big picture, and you've got to look at, how difficult these new rewards are going to get. Are people with that 3,000 gold just going to be able to go and just buy their new legendaries, buy everything they need for the collections? They want to try to avoid that. Yeah. So I think the comparison needs to stop between dungeons and raids.
Yeah. But I mean, thankfully, people are no longer able to buy, just go out and buy the legendaries, which I think is a fantastic idea.
Yes.
And I've probably said before that legendaries should have always been account bound.
Agreed.
But in terms of just like your general day-to-day stuff, if you want to buy materials to craft, if you want to, God, I don't know, buy like any number of anything, even kind of, it's kind of weird that using your tokens to salvage dungeon armor and weapons for ectoplasm is more profitable than actually just running the dungeons. And to me, it puts newer players or people who don't invest as much in the game as we do. It puts them on a very severe back foot in order to try and keep up with things. I mean, me and Inks have been trying to save up for that damn jetpack for what, 2 years now, maybe. And like,
forget that jetpack. I ain't never seen that.
Yeah, but that's kind of my point. I mean, hopefully, when they sort fractal rewards out, that will do a lot to alleviate people's concerns, especially with the spreadsheet research that somebody did on, I think it was on Reddit, that shows that level 21 to 50 fractals are more profitable than doing the champion level ones, which seems a little bit skewed at the moment. But hopefully.
I come at this from a kind of a different perspective a little bit. I think that tying gold farming to the group and the challenging group content is not a great idea. Like, the whole community, expects the gold from those, because it's been the most profitable way of making gold for a long time was doing those dungeon runs, and now that it's nerfed, people feel like they have lost something, and now we're getting this comparison of the rewards and gold. But coming from someone who was a World of Warcraft raider for 7 years, you didn't go to raids or dungeons ever to make gold. You went to raids to lose all your gold. You lost. It was a gold sink. You had that repair costs. You had consumables and flasks and all kinds of stuff you had to buy, and the bosses dropped silver pieces. Like, it was split by 40 people or split by 25 people. It was not a good way to make gold ever. So, and then the way to make gold in games like that was to farm. You want to farm ore, you want to farm materials and use the trading post to kind of sell it to other players and stuff like that. And I think I think that not saying one way is better or worse necessarily, but I didn't expect to make any gold going into these raids, and so because you get 4 gold per boss, hey, it's at least something. But I'm going to spend tons more making all my ascended gear and all the consumables I'm going to need to actually run in there. I think their offset for some of this stuff has been like the map rewards system, and now you can actually target which tier 6 material you want, and so if you want some of these things, you can actually specifically farm those type of things. The problem comes in when they keep introducing these items that are highly sought after and rare that really cater to people who have racked up those thousands of gold you were talking about. Like, it's great that they take these new legendaries and they make it so you can't put them on the auction house. You don't have those people do that. But they recently did this Night Fury shoulder thing, which is just bonkers.
Terrible.
It is bonkers to me that the way to get this is to throw 3,000 gold at it. It's like, no, you were almost there. You restructured all of your rewards. If you just made that like a fun thing, and sure, make it might be grindy. It might be a huge time sink to get it in a different way. Have to beat the Mad King like 100 times or whatever it is. But make it so you're playing the content and it's a time-gated thing rather than just a money thing. Because I think that's the missing piece in all of this. They're taking away the rewards in the dungeons. The raids might not be profitable in gold, but they make farming materials a little bit easier and stuff like that. But take away those items that just cost all that money. I mean, it gets a little ridiculous.
So speaking about the Halloween shoulder piece, which is very involved, very expensive, they really could fix that recipe very easily by there is a recipe to make the endless bat tonic. That's one of the most expensive pieces in this entire process. It's not in the game, even though I think the wiki said it was or was supposed to be or something like that. If they just released that recipe into the game so that you could somehow craft the endless batwing tonic, that would make that shoulder piece a lot more obtainable. It wouldn't cost you exactly 3,000 gold. Right now, besides the bat wings, I could go, and don't get me wrong, it would take me a very long time, but I could go and farm the linseed oil that I need and all the materials that I need and all that stuff. If you want to buy it off the trading post, yes, you're going to pay literally through the nose for it. Literally through the nose. That makes no sense. You're going to pay a lot for it, let's just say.
I was like, really? Literally through the nose?
The Fenris is rubbing off on me too much. It's literally too much.
I tell you what, it is down to 1,900 gold right now, so it's a bargain.
The point is like the stopgap right now for me, and probably for a lot of people, is this endless Batwing tonic. Are you going to have 400, 500 gold to spend on this thing? If I could make it in the game with all of the Batwing tonics I've gotten from trick-or-treat bags or something, it would make it a lot more obtainable. Yes, there's a lot of work still involved, but you could work on it, and that's the progression that you really kind of want or need, I think, for a good deal of players anyway.
Absolutely. That's kind of what I'd like to see overall. I think that's my kind of biggest bugbear, that when it's all very well talking about, you know, putting rewards in specific arenas using the new currencies, but it doesn't work when you have something like Night Fury thrown into the game.
Yep.
Which is kind of my issue with it at the moment. But hey.
But you also have the conspiracy theory that you know, ArenaNet wants items like Night Fury in the game because they are huge on the gold, and some players will actually convert gems to gold to get that, and therefore they, you know, so there is that business side of it where they probably want some of those items in the game, so it encourages some players to actually spend some money on gems. I mean, it is a business after all.
I don't think that's a conspiracy at all. I think it's a very clever thing to do. I know.
Yeah.
I know. I certainly do it. I mean, even if you don't convert it to gold, you still give them your money to buy stuff on the in the old gem store.
Right.
Right.
They've been releasing a new gem store item every single day.
Crazy.
They've changed their cadence from every Tuesday just dumping a bunch of stuff in there to it's like random day. Like people just tell me, "Hey, there's this in the gem." I'm like, "What? It's Friday. Like this isn't gem store day."
More pajamas. More pajamas.
Right? Like
More pajamas. I
Yeah,
can't
like
believe
last-
I bought a set of those
Last
glittering
week
wings.
and this week, there's
You did?
there's been a lot of stuff.
What did you buy?
The glittering wingback
you
piece.
bought the glittering wing backpack. Nice.
Nice.
No.
Be a pretty princess. Bring your pretty princess. We'll run around together with our pretty Sylvari princesses.
I know that. I know I've missed a lot of the minis now because they released like 3 minis last week.
I actually
And,
bought a mini, thanks. You'd be proud of me.
You did?
I bought a
The
tiger.
The wyvern? Oh, the
No,
tiger.
the tiger. Tiger's like one of my favorite animals, and I love how that mini looks. I'm like, I think I need that.
My wife bought the tiger as well. I didn't buy any of them.
I didn't either.
At least yet.
I got
Yes.
the
But,
wyvern and the tiger.
You will. You
I get the
will.
wyvern if it flew. I was so disappointed that
It
the thing
doesn't
just
fly?
it goes like this and crawls around after you like a little monkey thing. So it's weird.
Huh.
It's not like Tequatl.
Yeah, Tequatl's
I don't-
awesome.
I don't have the pretty butterfly wings. It's Alex.
I'm a pretty princess.
Instant buy. Instant buy. My Sylvari has
Yeah.
the glittering
Insta buy.
backpack, the glittering greatsword, the glittering longbow. She's
Yes,
decked-
but did
she's
you get the
decked out.
lunatic guard? No, because that's too badass and cool.
Actually, I did.
Did you get it? Did you get it?
I was,
The lunatic
I was
what,
gifted
sorry?
it.
You were she didn't buy it.
I didn't
though.
buy it. No. But I can
Joe,
have pretty pink flames if I want to.
I think when I think the three gents here, I think we've all done the glittering skin weapons videos, and I think we all mentioned just went, oh god, Peachy's gonna love these. She's just gonna buy
These
them
are
all.
peachy weapons. Yep.
I saw the first one. I saw the axe and it was like a butterfly, and I went, I'm not gonna like any of these, but Peachy's gonna love these.
I had one full black lion ticket, and it is gone. I bought
There
the great
was-
sword.
You know, I did I think I did like a top 5 on them. There are some that I like, but literally they don't match. Literally with the literally again, they don't match any of my characters. Fenris, I hate you, Fenris. They don't match any of my characters. I don't have any character that's going to match those weapons, unfortunately. Like the mace is really cool. It's got a huge like bloomin' onion head, and I like it. It's cool looking, but it doesn't match anything that I would run. So.
If you could dye them, if you could dye weapons.
I actually mentioned that in my
There
thing.
are so many Black Lion weapon sets, and I've said this many times before, that I would have bought if I would have been able to dye them, but the color doesn't go with any of my characters.
Yeah.
So
True enough.
Then
Struggle
just
is real.
change your
The
entire
struggle is
character
real.
look.
Yes, that is what I did for the glittering weapons. The glittering weapons were good enough that I went and changed my entire look and color scheme on my pink Sylvari.
Yeah.
I did.
My problem with most of the glittering weapons is they don't look like they could hold up as a weapon. Like the blooming onion, you get one shot with that. It's gonna hurt real bad, but then that weapon's gone.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I did watch your video on that, Richie, and yeah, you're right. The hammer looks like it would just fall apart. Like there's no bulk to it. There's no base to it. It's like
magic.
It's yeah.
It's about how a lot of magic-y effects on it. It was just glass.
It's Fashion Wars. It doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to make sense.
Doesn't have to make sense.
We got the improvised weapon sets. They don't have to make sense.
It's just occurred. I don't know why this just occurred to me, but why can't I glide on a magic carpet?
Oh. I
guess
feeling
they have the special coding for that. I guess
I have a feeling that in the future they're going to add like some silly gliders. Like right now, gliding is new, so they want to keep it to gliders, which is really strange that the glittering wings backpack wasn't a glider. I was very surprised.
Yeah,
because that just would have been perfect for a glider.
And the butterfly can't.
The butterfly wings, yeah, they aren't big enough though. I can understand
I bought
that.
those as well. I quite like those. What, the purple and yellow?
They go very well with the original colors on the new Lissa's regalia. Or is it Lissa's? Yeah. Lissa's regalia. They go very, very well. They match the colors perfectly.
No, but I agree with Peachy. They're going to come out with.
They're going to come with like balloons. Like you're going to be able to like just glide and there's balloons and
engineer a helicopter thing.
Yeah. I call next year we're going to start getting some silly gliders.
I hope so. Yeah. And of course, all of this is directly tied to raids, which is what we're here to talk about.
I have rewards. Gem store items can be considered rewards.
Yeah, I suppose. What if you could beat bosses for gems, like beat the final raid boss?
Oh my god, earnable. Well, there are earnable gems.
Cool.
Achievement point chests is the only way in game to earn gems, unless they've removed that. That's been a while.
No,
I think it's still there.
Still there?
Yeah.
400 every big milestone.
Yeah, but yeah, seriously, like a one-off 400 gem reward for beating the final raid boss. I think that'd be pretty cool.
That's a lot of gems into the economy.
They did say that it won't be out on Tuesday, but there will be decorations for the guild hall from the raid. Well. That is coming. Not sure why it's not ready, but it won't be ready for Tuesday.
Yeah, that's kind of strange. Unless it's an end of raid thing. Maybe like if you beat the final boss, maybe you get like its severed head on a pedestal, like the wyvern.
It'll give you some incentive if you want those things to go back and do it later, I guess. I mean, let's be honest, you're going to be farming raids for a while, so even if it comes out in a month from now, you'll still be running raids.
Yeah, and on the subject of, people say, Peachy said it had it would put too many gems into the market. There is a very, very easy way to avoid that. And that's for ArenaNet not to nerf the raids as soon as they come out because people cry that they're too hard.
Oh, God, yes.
There will be crying.
There will be crying.
It'll
I hope they're too hard. I hope they're too hard.
Entitlement.
Yeah.
You put it in the game, I should be able to beat it.
Right. You know what? That's why people complain about the rewards, because if they figure if we complain enough, it's happened in the past. If we complain, ArenaNet's going to change it, so maybe they'll up the rewards if we complain enough. So...
But that's the thing. It's like I genuinely hope that I'm like by the time raids come out, or by the where raids are now, I want raids to be released into the game in a situation where nobody has beaten them, and I'm talking about internal QA. The people that have been brought in from the outside to test the raids. I don't want anybody to have beaten these raids. Because to me it seems kind of that something's released and somewhere in the background there is a way for people to do it, that there is already a way that someone somewhere has figured out how it's done, and for some reason that really kind of annoys me, and because It's just the fact that, somewhere someone has the key to unlocking it, and all that has to happen is it gets put on Reddit, or there's a video guide made about it, and then that's it. That's the experience of figuring out how to do the raids completely gone. And when I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, when Diablo 3 first came out, no one had beaten Diablo, not even internal testers, Diablo on Inferno, before they did all the torment stuff. And that's the situation I want raids to be in. I want them to be so damn hard that, not even like Colin has beaten them, or so, not even like the top players inside ArenaNet have managed to beat these raids, but that they can be done. Because they can be done. It's like
they have to be able to be done.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying as far as you don't, like you said, like someone figures out how to do it and puts it on Reddit. Like the dungeons. You can look up how to speedrun every path of every dungeon. I don't think that that's going to be the situation with raids. I think you have to have a cohesive party. Everyone has to know what they're doing. They have to have the correct builds. You have to have the right combination of professions, but there is no right combination. There is no, if you take 5 warriors and this and this and this, you're guaranteed to win, no matter what their skill level is. I don't think that raids are going to be like that. There might be a guide video on how, what is, the tactics. You of course, you're going to be able to share the tactics of the boss. This boss needs Condi. This boss needs, DPS. But I really hope, and I don't think, that there's going to be like a tutorial of, okay, how do you speedrun raids? Or basically farm them.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I'm kind of saying isn't going down too well with chat at the moment. But if you think back to how dungeons used to be, like, and I'm talking a long time back when Guild Wars 2 was a new game, and people didn't do a KOF 1 in 10 minutes, and people didn't go, oh, we've got half an hour to kill, let's do all 3 Ascalonian Catacombs paths. Where people, does everyone remember here doing AC story and getting absolutely destroyed back in 2012? I mean, I'm talking about explorable and story modes here. Yeah, no, we absolutely got panned in those first ones, and that is what I want. Obviously
you're going to get that, though. You're going to get that. Regardless if there's a guide day one, you're going to get that. Like, I think that the raids are going to be beaten very quickly. It's going to happen, maybe not day one, but by the end of the first week, everyone, the top people are going to have this raid win clear. And that's not an indication that it's too easy. We're still going to go in and get our faces smashed in. And, like, as I mentioned this before, I was a raid leader for 7 years of World of Warcraft, and I know it's going to be a completely different game, you can't compare, but I used to have a little bit of an idealistic look that I wanted to go in with my raid group and experience it firsthand, knowing nothing about it, and try to figure out all of the tactics and stuff like that. And that quickly became just an ideal that couldn't exist. If I was going to not waste my guild's time, I needed to be prepared and know the strategies and know what to do, because even knowing how the boss worked and knowing all the abilities, it was still going to take us weeks to down that boss, because it's about, like Peachy said before, it's about finding how this particular group of people can beat it. That might have worked for them. We might have an idea, but the puzzle is in who do you have with you? What are their skills? What are their weaknesses? What are their builds? And stuff like that. So I think I understand the ideals that you're going for there, but I'm not sure if it's practical. And I don't want you to be too disappointed when you see them get defeated on day one. It doesn't necessarily mean they're too easy.
I'm just kidding. This is a game for casuals. Raids are useless.
I do think that the raid will be cleared within the first week, if not the first couple of days. And I don't think players are going to see that, and in many different Twitch chats and on Reddit and on the forums, there's going to be crying about everything's too easy, even though they haven't even actually beaten it themselves.
Yep.
There are some very, very good players in Guild Wars 2. Some of them who I've had the pleasure to play with and know, and they're very smart. They have very good tactical minds. They will figure these bosses out like that. And then it's just a matter of execution. It happens in every MMO. SWTOR, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, etc. The difference is in some of those games on why it takes those raids or why it takes those players longer to beat those raids is a gear gate. And Guild Wars 2 doesn't have that gear gate, okay? Except for, I mean, there's some gear gate with Ascended, but those top players, they all have Ascended out the wazoo. They are not worried about food and Ascended. They have all that stuff figured out. It'll be fine for them. Right. So it won't be quite as big a deal in Guild Wars 2 for beating these things faster than some other MMOs. Now, that doesn't mean it, like Richie's saying, it certainly doesn't mean it's easier. It's all going to be about execution of whatever the tactic and strategy is in order to clear those raids.
Yeah, I mean, my point is that, you know, when the raids are released, I don't want, you know, I fully expect the top tier of players to beat it within the first week, you know. But my issue is that it's already been done before it comes out, and that's my kind of problem with it. It's like, I mean, obviously they're going to put content in that can be done, but it's just like that kind of hidden nugget that that someone knows that there is an optimal way to do it, and that's the kind of thing that frustrates me. Right? Because as soon as if that ever gets out, you get into the whole kind of all of the kind of crap that we saw with Dungeons, Zerka meta, blah 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 blah.
Well, if there is a way to do it, and if that gets out, and it turns out that, you know, that's the way to do it, and it can be farmed, then they're gonna change. They're gonna have that feedback, and they're gonna change that for the next raid wing or even the next entire raid. It's gonna be different, so you can't do that.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I hope.
Yeah, I get the feeling I am in the absolute minority here that I want something harder than Satan to beat.
Well, I do want raids to be hard because Guild Wars 2 has to have that hardcore content and this challenging group content. They've promised us this hardcore content for hardcore players, and there may be more casual players who are saying, there's even some people in chat saying, well, I don't have 4 or 5 hours to dedicate, you know, a night to raids. I have a life, I have a job, I have kids, I don't have that. Then raids are not for you. This is hardcore content for hardcore players. So if you don't have that time to dedicate, then don't play it, quite honestly. That's not for you. That's one of the things that I love about Guild Wars 2 is it caters to every single player. But every single piece of content does not have to cater to every single player.
Yeah,
I wish
absolutely.
I wish more people were like Peachy with this, because we were actually just talking about this the other day. Like, Peachy plays Guild Wars all the time, right? And she streams and she makes videos and, you know, is a big member of this community. And yet she's already kind of thinking in her head, you know, I'm going to try raids, but maybe it might actually not be my content. And is she going to rage and scream that, well, you know, I do all of this stuff and I can't actually complete the raids? No, she's like, it might not be for me.
Mm-hmm. So I think too that there's there's a lot of reasons, I guess, for it, but there's this mindset that you have to be this hardcore, and we talked about this a little bit last night, Richie. There has to be this hardcore 7 days a week, 12-hour day mindset of I've got to raid and I got to get it done all in this time frame super quickly. But if you're a more casual player, and I'm not talking about a low skill cap, I'm talking about time investment in the game.
Right.
Those people will still be able to clear raids. It'll just be a slower process for them. There's nothing wrong with taking your time, raiding once or twice a week for a couple of hours, or maybe even only 2 hours a night or something, twice a week or once a week if that's all the time you have. You'll clear raids. It might just take you it's going to take you a much longer time. That's all. And of course, there will be some people who raids just aren't for them. They like open world content. They don't like dungeons. They don't like fractals. They don't like raids. World versus world, whatever. You know, lots of people have different tastes. You know, it's just the way it is. You don't have to have legendary armor. You can still make Ascended and never do dungeons or fractals or anything.
Yeah.
So, real quick though, we were talking about like how difficult this is and stuff like that, and it's funny because, you know, when I was following WildStar really closely before that game came out, I was super excited because they were so focused on hardcore. We're gonna make the hardest dungeons ever. You think World of Warcraft was hard, you know, this is it, and like everybody was really excited about that. And then it came out, and a lot of people, including myself, had a wake-up call and realized, this is not really what we wanted. We don't. It's not necessarily, I think the community of MMO players has kind of evolved a little bit. We want it to be challenging, and I expect this to be challenging. But I don't think that Guild Wars 2 and ArenaNet is going to go for that, no one's going to beat the last boss of this wing for months type of approach, which is what happened in WildStar. Like, nobody beat that final raid boss for months and months and months after the game came out. I don't see that happening with this. So I want it to be difficult, but I don't think it's going to be like this insane kind of level of difficulty that maybe some people want.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not naive enough to think any of what I've just said will actually happen, and and I'm certainly not in this top tier of players that I've been talking about while I've gone on my horrendous diatribe about how everybody needs to be forced to quit the game through a difficulty gate. But, do you know, actually, that's it. Just make all of the mobs level 100 across the game. That'll do me.
They did that in Guild Wars 1. You could only the cap was 20, and when you got to end game, all the mobs were level 30. The bosses were like level 30.
Yeah.
Yep, 32. Yeah. So I was like,
but stuff like that. Again, like I said, I'm nowhere near as naive as my opinion is making me sound, but I would eventually like to see that kind of insanely difficult content in, because people are always going to want a challenge, and perhaps the very first raid they put into Guild Wars 2 isn't really the right place to do it. But I think like you were saying about WildStar, Richie, having that boss that doesn't get beaten for months, I think that would be a really cool thing to aspire to.
Alex is just saying he wants to get his face smashed in.
Yeah.
And I think you'll get your face smashed in. You'll have plenty of opportunity for crying about it. And the forums and Reddit and all these other places that are very popular for people to talk on will be full of threads and threads and threads and threads of, this is too difficult, this is too stupid, it has too much toughness, it favors Kandi too much, etc.
By the way, Inks, you should automatically put up a filter on your web browser starting next Tuesday so you can't visit Reddit for a week. Because your Twitter feed is going to be like, it's not going to be healthy, man.
Not good. I know. I'm terrible when it comes to that stuff. It blows my mind sometimes, the thought process of some people. I'm going to have all of my raid gear in Wing 1. Yes, of course. Of course, that's the way it was always supposed to be.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. But you know it's already going to happen. So,
yes.
And you can't stop it.
Oh, no. Fugazi's just said exactly what I want in chat. Hardcore mode in raids. That's what I want.
How do you reward that? You now have hardcore mode. What's the reward?
Different color skins.
Is that enough?
Oh, no.
Worked for Super Adventure Box.
Instead of 2 gold pooing, 4 gold. Yeah, I went there.
I had an interesting conversation. I had an interesting conversation yesterday on my stream with Zach Sucketlove and a number of other people who were there about what they really want from rewards. And because of the nerf to dungeons, because of this, the feeling of the pinch of this gold nerf, they were like, look, I need to get a guaranteed 2 Ascendant chests every time I clear the raid. And I don't know that that's going to happen. I think you're going to be very disappointed. Now, what he's saying is, like, that's about 100 gold. Maybe it's a little bit more than 100 gold worth of stuff. And considering you can only get the rewards once a week, and you used to be able to get 50 gold a day from dungeons, I don't know that it sounds that crazy. It sounds that crazy when you first say it. But getting it guaranteed, I think you're going to be disappointed, because I don't think that's going to happen.
No. I would agree.
Yeah. No. Richie, let's kind of close off the show here. You said that you were a raider in World of Warcraft for 7 years, and you said that you basically bled money, to do these raids. You didn't go into raids to earn it. What was the draw to go into those raids in WoW?
Well, it's different for many people, but mostly if you in World, and this is not going to be the case in Guild Wars, mostly if you wanted to keep raiding, to keep seeing the new bosses, to keep collecting the new gear, you had to, because in order to prepare for the next raid that might be coming out in 3 months or 6 months, you needed the gear from this raid. So you had to do it every single week, and you had every single slot that needed to get upgraded to best in slot or as close as you could get to it. For me personally, I just love the rush of working with this team of people. Like, I didn't care if I ever got gear. You know, I was the first person to be like, you guys have that item, I'll get my stuff last. But I love that and it has not been duplicated in my gaming experience since World of Warcraft. That feeling of we've worked really hard on something, and now we finally see the fruit of that boss going down. There's an adrenaline rush, there's a camaraderie rush. It's kind of like playing a team sport almost. And I've had like glimpses of that a few times in Guild Wars 2. When I was actually part of the world first team of killing Tequatl. But even that wasn't exactly the same, because it was mostly just me with a bunch of strangers on voice chat, and I didn't know anybody. It wasn't like that, yay, we all did it together kind of thing. So it's been very rare to get that feeling again in Guild Wars 2. So I'm really hoping that that's what we get. You hang out with your friends, you work for something really hard, and then you get rewarded for it. And it's like, yes, we did this together.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
You
don't get.
It's the,
but you don't.
It's the journey. It's the experience. It's the camaraderie.
But you don't get that from beaten Ascalonian catacombs.
No,
it's
you don't.
Not like, yeah.
That takes me back though. As you said, open world bosses are different because you're not doing it with this close group of friends that you've built up and strategized with for a week. But watching the videos of the world first, like you said, the Tequatl kill, and even more the triple trouble worm. Watching the videos of the first time taking that down and everybody cheering, literally people in game literally giving speeches afterwards in game and on TeamSpeak, it gave me an adrenaline rush just watching it. It was so, because there was the community coming together to accomplish something, and there was people there linking, oh, I got the mini, I got the whatever, I got these drops, but it wasn't about that. So.
Secondary. Yeah.
Right. So I'm hoping that for most people, raids becomes about that, and not, that the rewards are just, they're happy with the rewards that they do get.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Richie. Go ahead.
I was going to say, an important thing to remember about this is, because it's in an instance, and this is what I've been pulling for this kind of content to be in an instance for so long, because that jungle worm and the Tequatl thing might happen the first couple times it gets killed, but the thing about raids is it's an individual guild thing. Your group of friends may not kill the first boss until December or January, but when your group does that, your group will get that rush. And so it doesn't matter if you're hardcore and going to be able to beat it next Tuesday, or if you're a slower pace guild. If it's something you work towards, everyone can kind of get that with your individual team, and it's a very personal, satisfying feeling. So
yeah.
So I've been very fortunate in Guild Wars 2 in that, like Richie, I was there for the first Tequatl kill ever, and that was a great experience. Like he's saying, it got very close to having that eureka moment. I was very fortunate to be there for the North America. Europe did it 4 days earlier or 5 days earlier than we did. But I was there for the first North America worm kill, and there was, like Peachy was saying, there was definitely this. And sure, I didn't know everybody who was at that raid, but there was definitely a group of us who had been doing it for like a week solid, maybe 30 people, 40 people, putting in 20 hours a day, 15 hours a day, which is insane, right? And that sounds crazy, but there was like 2-hour cooldowns. It's not like you were doing it for 15, 30 hours straight or something. But when you finally killed it, there was definitely that moment of, yes, we finally got it. We knew what we had to do. We just couldn't quite execute it perfectly. And getting that finally down is that moment of that it's hard to really kind of quantify, but it is like winning state championships in a sport or something like that, or having a flawless season for a sports team or whatever. Being there for that moment, which is not necessarily a repeatable thing. You get that one time when you do that event, and you never feel that way again when you do it, Yep. I've been killing the worm for more than a year now. I get a feeling of just pure boredom when I do it now, because we've been doing it for so long. Yep. And raids, for sure raids, especially because like Richie was saying, they're instanced. It's with your guild or it's with your group of trusted friends that you've been playing with, that you know on an intimate level, that you see every week or that you play with daily even sometimes. Getting that achievement, that accomplishment, even if you're not world first, which is a whole other, bag, that is such a fantastic feeling to have from a game. Yep. And it is really special, and that's the reason that people dedicate so much time to these sorts of things.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
We're making Peachy cry. She's like, wait a minute. The emotion is not. The emotion.
Wait,
is not
there's
in the
emotion tied to
story?
raids. I have to do them now. All right, guys, we're gonna end the show there. If you're watching live on Twitch, please stay tuned for the post show. If you're watching on YouTube, scroll down below and click all the links and follow us all on our various media outlets for more Guild Wars 2 content. Thank you so much, Richie, for being on the show today.
No problem.
Yay! Good discussion. And much love to Corvus. Hope you get better, dude. Hope we see you next week. Alright, guys. Stay tuned for the post show if you're watching live, and we'll see you next week. Bye!
Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.
Alright.